Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Gusun Pa. I work for Korea Institute of Science and Technology, Evaluation and Planning. We call it KISTEP in short, as a chief director. Now I would like to open and moderate the afternoon session. In this session, we have three distinguished speakers. Dr. Mial Loco from National Science and Foundation in America, and Yong-Ho Jo, Professor of KIST. KIST is Korea Advanced Institute of Science and Technology. And the other is Jae-Chun Choi, Professor of Ewha Women's University. They will give presentations on three topics. One is converging science and technology. Another is challenges and issues for education, innovation toward technology convergence era. And the 21st century global talent and conciliation. We also invited Dr. Christine Brins, her Korean name Eun-Suk Kim, from Germany. As we have 18 minutes in this session, each speaker will be given 20 minutes for a presentation. After three speakers finish the presentations, I'll invite the panelists to give comments on the presentation that were made. After that, if possible, we will have a general discussion on the today's presentations with the participation of the floor. Now, I would like to invite the first speaker, Dr. Mial Loco. He has been a professor at the numerous universities, including University of Kentucky and Caltech and Johns Hopkins University. He is now National Science Foundation's NSF's Senior Advisor for Nanotechnologies and founding chair of U.S. National Science and Technology Council's Subcommittee on Nanoscale Science and Engineering and Technology. Dr. Loco, please.
Good afternoon. First of all, thank you for the opportunity to speak at this meeting with a focus on the future of education and training. I see in this meeting an opportunity to explore possible trends in a world dominated more and more by integration and converging technologies. That means more and more technology is part of the life, part of the working activities, and is necessary to adjust to prepare the students for this society. My presentation will have basically two parts. In the first part, I will explain what means this converging science and technology. And the second part, I will present several ideas how to prepare the working force, how to prepare the education for that purpose. That means in the current development, there are four main emerging technologies that are converging in a scientific level: nanotechnology, modern biology, digital revolution, and cognitive sciences. And is a refocus on people. That means instead of having a focus on technology itself, it's a refocus on increasing the human potential in daily activities like learning, working, maintaining capacity while aging. In 2000, I made a survey of emerging fields in the United States, and it was interesting that information technology and nanotechnology were covered by national programs. Biophysical part was covered by NIH, but there was no national program on biotechnology or environmental resources. and was almost no large activity on cognitive sciences. And I think this fact can be found also in other countries. That means there was a need to balance, to add cognitive sciences and to have the system approach for all of this. What is this idea, in fact? That means it's advancing an integrative approach for emerging science and engineering from three integrators. First of all, you have the material world. All is the same for all disciplines, all areas of application. From information level and system, with a focus on people, on creating industrial platform and co-evolution and new technologies and human potential. That means basically this convergence is a process to achieve compatibility and synergism of different technologies by integrating application and knowledge starting from atom, gene, neuron, and different complexity levels. Why this topic is of importance now? One reason is there are developments that were not available just even 10, 20 years ago. First of all, the development of the nanoscale allows us to go from bottom-up and to integrate different disciplines and areas of relevance. Different tools develop the interface between nano, bio, info, cognitive, and system approach allows to develop completely new tools. We develop a so-called universal domain of exchange. That means not only in physics, chemistry, or philosophy, but all the ideas are coming together. Other aspect, improvement of human potential has become possible. What means this? We are detecting signals from cells, from neural system. We are building devices that can interact directly with the tissue. And we develop assemblies that are suitable, for instance, for neuromorphic engineering. We have new models to adjust for these technological changes in organization and businesses. And certainly this is opening new opportunities for education and innovation in general. This is a kind of simple schematic that what is a basic idea in 50s, we started with information technology. In about 60s, we started with biology. Nanotechnology basically developed more recently, after 90s. And cognitive technology are still to be developed. Even there are some beginnings at this moment. And we see the evolution in the next 10, 20 years focusing on creating systems to combine all of these capabilities, and probably will create new paradigms in manufacturing, in business after 2020. We prepared several reports on this, in fact 5 reports on these ideas. One was on how we can improve human potential using converging technologies. Second was co-evolution of human potential and converging new technologies, managing these innovations, and progress in convergence. In US, there are maybe 6 or 7 programs that cross these fields. For example, it's one on regenerative medicine, where the focus is to combine precise assembling at the nanoscale of building blocks of living systems using certainly information technology for spatial temporal modeling and simulation and cognitive sciences. The outcomes, the implications, are relatively broad. First of all, these technologies allow to expand human cognition and communication, going from brain to brain interaction through intermediate devices, developing collective creativity, etc. Other is improving human physical capabilities, including health. Other is enhancing societal outcome, including new products and services. Another aspect is changing from a top-down focus domain changing societal relations and business relationships to serve these new developments. Another important change is in personal and national security, new sensors, new devices, completely new materials. And one area that I will speak at this meeting, and now I will enter basically the second part of my presentation, unifying concepts in science and engineering using these nano-bio-information and cognitive concepts. And I try to group from the point of view of governance the education changes in 4 categories. And in the time available, in fact, I will speak only about the first 2 in more details. That means if you look to the convergence, to the governance of these converging technologies, we have 4 requirements. One, the governance has to be transformative. Without the transformative part, there is no reason to do it. Secondly, you have to have a plan for long term. Without that, you cannot develop new ideas. Other has to be inclusive and collaborative and certainly responsible. That means very short, in brief, what means each of these. For instance, transformative means to develop models that will bring the most effective educational tools in schools, and also will show how these tools could be used to help production and society in general. Visionary means to use new approaches, for instance, reversing the pyramid of learning that I will speak in a few minutes, virtual reality, using cognitive technologies, etc. About inclusive, I refer not only to the cultural and knowledge background, but also to interdisciplinarity between engineering, science, cognitive sciences, and international collaboration. When we speak about responsible development, first we refer probably to have an equal access to education. Secondly, to have societal aspects included in the educational process, including ethics and different concepts of respect and among different groups, risk governance, and certainly developing tools and approaches for sustainable development. I will just detail a few of these ideas. One is, that means we like to change the education from the current level where the focus is on disciplines. That means the disciplines are focused on different averaging methods. For instance, in chemistry, we do on moles. In mechanical engineering, we focus on infinitesimal volume. In statistics, in thermodynamics, on statistical averaging. We like to move the foundation from this macroscopic concepts to the basic fundamental concepts of atoms, genes, bits, neuron, and in order to avoid the formalism and limitation of the existing disciplines. And other aspect is such kind of education, to be effective, has to start earlier. It can be done also later, for instance, to start in the freshman year, but probably the most effective will be to start from elementary school. I give an example. For instance, at National Science Foundation where I work, we created a program. It means in 2000, when we started the National Nanotechnology Initiative, we have mainly focused on graduate education. In 2002, we created a program for undergraduate, and the focus was on a freshman and sophomore year to teach concepts that are generic for all disciplines, and thereafter to move into individual disciplines. In 2003, we created 2 networks for formal and informal education at the level of high school. In 2004-2005, we move systematically to elementary and even kindergarten. For students, it's much for elementary school, it's much easier to get these concepts and they understand much better than to go. For instance, I take chemistry. They use all kinds of formalisms that do not have any real learning at that age. And the formalism is not helping to understand the bigger picture of unity of matter, of nanoscale, unity in biology, unity of information technology, etc. Another approach is to combine a so-called depth with breadth. What means this? You have similar educational modules in different disciplines or in different areas of application. For instance, in this picture you find this blue one. For instance, you teach this in engineering and you teach the same thing in biology with the terms specific for those disciplines but similar content. And the idea is in a longer term is to create a kind of common terms and common knowledge about the nanoscale or information technology in different disciplines, so-called, and at the same time to have depth in a given field. And this we call so-called T-shaped education. That means the students to have a depth to understand well and to be able to work in a field and eventually even do research in that field, and at the same time to have the ability to communicate across disciplines. Another area that we try to focus on is to create a so-called ecology of innovation. What means this? That means initially we know creativity is create new ideas, and certainly this converging technologies helps this endeavor because we have multiple disciplines and multiple goals. Secondly, it's invention. That means new results using the new tools. And certainly innovation. Innovation is how you create new products or new applications starting from this multiple knowledge acquired through converging technologies. And we created several programs that probably I don't have time to detail here in order to encourage this process. And I have a schematic just to explain more why through converging technologies we increase innovation. For instance, if you look to the level of development of an idea, on the left we have the knowledge creation. This is mainly the research component. Here certainly, because we have all the components, nano, bio, information, cognition, we have a broader source of ideas. After, on this side, is the so-called application, where you have eventually different domains of application, like electronics, materials, etc. Innovation is this so-called fuzzy domain, where the ideas are transmitted from researchers to different areas of application, different markets. Certainly, because we have here multiple disciplines and multiple platforms, the possibilities of making this transition are increased. This is a topic that usually people in industry are discussing, but at the same time, in educational process, we have to prepare the students to have the capability to cross so-called this valley of death, how it's called in the United States. Another aspect is that most of the natural and industrial systems are complex. The reduction to very simple concept is good, but is not enough. And we have to include the study of complexity, which implies self-organization, self-replication, adaptability, other concepts in education, like being part of the real world, means none of these concepts that are simple, if are not integrated in such kind of environment, can be used effectively. Here is a schematic, in fact, for biotechnology, that you start from atomic level and how you evolve to very complex systems. But the concept basically refers to almost all areas of relevance in life and in economical system. Another attempt that we made so-called to reverse the pyramid of learning. What means this? When you are in university, you learn physics, chemistry. Many students ask why we learn this. This is the first question that you go in a school, you find from students. They after arrive to graduate school, and you finish the graduate school, you see the connections. You see, these are all connected. Anything is about the same, but we look from different angles. Well, the idea was to start to define these unifying concepts. Sometimes nobody will get to these concepts because you finish the 4-year undergraduate and you never understand why you done physics and chemistry or how things are connected. That means the idea was to start in the freshman year to give this bigger picture, these 4 domains, unifying concepts of matter, unifying concepts in biology, information and cognition, and thereafter to go, when you speak in different disciplines, only to explain. This is a different method to average the same thing. And so you get motivation and a more unifying way to see the world. This method proved very effective. We have about 100 projects funded in this domain and proved very effective in motivating the students and increasing the quality of research. Another attempt that we made was to use more virtual reality. This virtual reality is a very good environment for research, education, if it's developed up to a given level, to sufficient sophistication, certainly. And, for instance, can be used very well as a learning tool, working environment, virtual laboratory experiments, even social observatory. Or, and as you know, you can include in the same system virtual components that are assigned to do different things, and you can include real people who interact with the system. And we plan, in fact, to have a systematic use for educational programs after 2010. The reason is, at this moment, this software is not very well developed. However, you know, like Second Life, many of this room maybe don't know what it is. However, the children in high school, all they know. We are a generation back already. And this is part of the educational system has to prepare for the future. Other aspect is, was a good presentation earlier today about collective intelligence and role of networking and creating virtual communities. We are no longer isolated working in a lab or isolated working only in physics. People interact certainly through internet and other means, and we have to use this capability through remote access, remote collaboration. For instance, a National Science Foundation, almost all the labs, we have different laboratories, can be accessed remotely by students or high school children to do experiments. And this is not only a capability, but physical capability, but also allows to increase creativity and accelerate exchanges. One example in this field is, for instance, we have different labs already connected, and usually they have 3 views. One is, in one side they see, for instance, a PowerPoint presentation. In others, they see the instrument, how it's working. In other place, you see the data. Sometimes you can put also the people that are participating in discussion on the screen. And so the people at different location have basically the full information to interact. And this is basically a capability that is available at this moment. Another trend is more and more to introduce in education the so-called cognitive technologies. What means this? This to allow new technologies to use the interface between neural system and different devices, or to use different approaches how to do education using new technologies. And the idea is to enhance the education and learning process through these cognitive tools. And one example is cognitive, connecting neurobiology to nanoelectronics, brain-machine interfaces, neuromorphic engineering, etc. This method already are in advanced development. Some are already used. One example of advanced program is this. We started in 2002. We developed 6 centers to develop understanding from physical-chemical processes in brain up to education in the classroom, to see the whole process and to see how to can optimize this. Each center is a relatively large center. Each one has about $5 million, and the results already are close to be applied in general schools. And this is my last slide. I see that governance has an important role in introducing new technologies in schools, and I summarize here the 5 top possibilities. One is to start early education, including from elementary school, to start to explaining the nature from atom, genes, bits, neuron, and no longer to start to use this formalism of different disciplines. Other approaches to establish a global transdisciplinary communication system for networking, creating virtual reality, and this to be facilitated by international organizations, to be accessible equally from by different communities. Another aspect is to create and leverage different courses, networks, institutes, the infrastructure for converging technologies. Other aspect is to use these resources for common goals in societies, like common water resources, common energy, food, environment, and eventually safety. That means to address main societal goals through these approaches. And last, which I think is very important, is to make a commitment to long-term priority-driven development of scenarios in order to develop anticipatory measures. Without this capability to develop the tools and organizational capacity to address the future, we will not be able to prepare well the students who will work in a different environment. That means the students that we prepare now will work probably in 10, 20 years from now, will start working. We have to envision those conditions and to develop a suitable educational system. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Loco, for your informative presentation. Now, I would like to introduce our second speaker, Young-ho Jo. Dr. Jo received his PhD from University of California at Berkeley in 1990. In August of following year, he moved to KAIST, where he is currently a professor in the Department of Biosystems and the Department of Mechanical Engineering, while also serving as the director of the Digital Nano-Locomotion Center, in addition to chairing many global conferences and organizations, including the Steering Committee of Korea National MEMS Programs. He was a chief delegate of Korea at the World Micro Machine Summit. Professor Jo, please.
Thank you, Chairman, for your kind introduction, and good afternoon. Actually, I'm an engineer, not a scientist. So, but I believe that I'm an engineer who understands the science. And today I'm going to discuss about higher education in technical convergence area. And because 6 years ago, I was a founding member of a new department at KAIST, which is called the Bio and Brain Engineering Department. And I spent 6 years to educate undergraduate and graduate students. And I'm going to share my experience, mostly composed of questions, not with a few answers. And today, first of all, I'm going to discuss about why we need a technology convergence education. Why we teach a single education is not good enough. That is the first background of the technology convergence is discussed. Then I'm going to move on what kind of technology, which means what is the contents of the technology convergence, and then a method of technology convergence. Then at the last part, I'm going to discuss about who is going to take what kind of role to make a sound environment for higher education in technology convergence area. So why we need a technology convergence? There are many reasons, but I believe that in the future, social and cultural needs come from to increase the quality of life, and we need a more healthy life, or welfare is also a very important aspect in the social and cultural society in the future. On the other hand, in economic aspect or industrial aspect in the future, we need to make money. We need to grow. Also, we need to increase our competitiveness in the market to add more values. So if you consider these two goals, two needs from our society, which means that we have both life and economic needs will be arise in future. Therefore, for those kind of goal has been converged, then solutions should be provided in the form of convergence form. So that is, I think, a major background why we discuss about technology convergence. For example, recently, some biotech market and product has been already emerged into the information market and industries, which means that, for example, if you have wireless health monitoring system, that is biotech combined with information technology. So I think whether the kind of product are biomedical equipment or electronic equipment, that is good question, right? But that is already the kind of market and product convergence is already in the market. So in order to develop the kind of product, or in order to implement that kind of idea, we need the nanotechnology or microtechnology. Sometimes we need the semiconductor technology to realize that requirement or future dream for the next generation. So therefore, in industry and technology should be converged together to provide a good solution or feasible solution to implement that needs of the market. In addition to the technology convergence, we have many different kind of convergence exist here. So discipline has been converged in our universities, humanities or social scientists and science and the natural science, biology, physics or chemistry, also engineering subjects are converged together. Also, in the sense of the scale, we are discussing what from meter scale and millimeter scale and micrometer scale. Now we are discussing about nanoscale. So we have a huge range of scale of interest are converged or sometimes diverged. Also, software and hardware should be developed together, because one of the good examples is the iPod or touch phone or something like that. That things, in order to produce a new product, you need to develop softwares as well as hardware, which each other should be support the idea together. So that is important convergence requirement in our society. If you look at the technology convergence, most of the common contents of the technology convergence is biotech and nanotech and the information technology. Sometimes we have cognitive technology. But within that technology convergence, there is a wide range of direction now exists. Sometimes we are approaching bottom-up, and we top-down approach can be exist, or sometimes a mixed mode of approaches also exist. However, if you look at the objective of recent technology convergence or R&D issues, then the objective of technology convergence are changing from cost reduction to value creation. Or sometimes we put more focus on productive outcome rather than that reasonable processes. Or instead of increasing the efficiency of the investment, we need more focus on efficiency, or how we effectively invest our budget to produce a productive outcome. That's the kind of trend. In this slide, I'm going to briefly introduce why that cognitive or social science or humanity or sometimes psychology are merged together with engineering technology. The reason is that in this room is controlled by air conditioning, right? The air conditioner are monitoring what? Temperature. But I'm not interested in temperature. My concern is whether I feel cold or not. Temperature gives you nothing, no information. But most of the current engineering technology are monitoring temperature, and they so-called that is automatic air conditioning. Air conditioning for not human being, for temperature itself. Temperature would be happy, but human being will not happy about the temperature control. Therefore, this is why we need in the future air conditioning system should monitor human being rather than temperature. The air conditioner should monitor whether the people in this room feel cold or hot. That is important. So in this case, in order to recognize the symptom of human beings' sensory or that cognitive result, we need to understand how that human being recognize the feeling, the cold and hot feeling. So that is why in order to develop such kind of a new concept of air conditioner, you need to understand air conditioner machine itself as well as human beings and the psychologists and the pattern of the human being's behavior depending on the temperature. So that is why there's most of that wide range of different disciplines should be converged together to produce more productive or more valuable result in the future. So here, in order to educate the higher education, high quality peoples, nowadays ability of human being is changing from we are going to teach how to solve the problem, but in the future we need to teach how to find the new problem, how you define new problem, how you can figure out new problem. That is important. Also, in addition to, rather than the career or memories or experience, I think curiosity or creativity is more important aspect of ability. Also, similarity, uniformity, that is a major stream of our education, right? We need a uniform student, similar student, but in the future, difference and diversity would provide more value to our human societies. Also, from that theoretical formula, we need to reinforce the experimental method or tools to verify their new ideas. Also, in addition to that, we need to increase the width of our knowledge, which means we need to transform that education focusing on monodiscipline to the multidisciplinary education. So I'm going to give you a brief introduction or brief information about Korean multidisciplinary education. This is a nano X means nano plus bio, sometimes information, nano something. So in nano X department, we have in Korea we have 34 universities. In 34 universities we have about 43 new department or program. And the content is that here that department and university are establishing a new department and program are increasing. Also, if you look at the faculty member, half of them are affiliated with other department, but half of them are full-time faculties to this multidisciplinary department. In the sense of that student, most of them are more than 84% are bachelor's degree, which means undergraduate education. Therefore, in Korea, we focused on multidisciplinary education in undergraduate rather than in graduate level. In sense of the course and the material and chemistry, fundamental science course composed of 50% of the total course. So in the education issues, what is the practical challenge and issues? And according to my 6 years experience in multidisciplinary education, this is my question. What would be the proper method for multidisciplinary education for undergraduate student and graduate student? What would be the difference between them? And the other question is that what is better to establish a new department or to develop an interdepartment program? Which one would be better? There is pros and cons, but that is a general practical question you may have. Also, we need a wide range spectrum of the knowledge, disciplines. But how about depth? Ability of students are fixed. Number of credit you should take before graduation is fixed. Then how we can decide the width and depth of subject? What kind of subject you can teach? How many courses are you going to teach? And what kind of course is suitable? And that is another practical question. Also, the width and content between science and engineering, which proportion is better? 30% of science and 70% of the engineering, or in scientific department, they may focus on the 70% of science and with 20 or 30% of engineering courses. The other important question is positions and potentials. That is more important question. How many students are you going to educate? For current, whether we decide number of students to educate depending on current position or future potentials, how we can estimate the future potential. That is the most important question, I think, in the multidisciplinary education. Also, that science and joint lectures, some international collaboration of the education is also important. If you look at some diagram here, the area is constant, but width means spectrum of the subject. Depth means the expertise, right? So depending on each student, what would be the proper shape of the polygon of technical convergence in multidisciplinary area? That is a big question. I think in my experience, the best way is to spend more time with your student. Second is to pay more attention to your student. I think that is two golden rule to find out which one is better, which one is a suitable combination for depending on the background of the student and interest or talent, sometimes talent of the student. So also most of that width and depth of the multidisciplinary education is also guided by research in advanced study, which is especially in the graduate school. And here also in R&D challenges and issues also influencing the education issues. Therefore, if you look at here, who is going to take which part to make the multidisciplinary education environment are present, which means in university we should focusing on the multidisciplinary education, but in research institute or R&D sectors, we need to focusing on technology convergence, including the biotech and nanotech, sometimes information technology and cognitive technology. Also in industry also experiencing a product convergence. So industry, university, and research sector, as well as the government sector should work together to make successful, to make the technical convergence education successful. So this is global pictures. We need the convergence of the people convergence, technology should be converged together, and discipline should be converged, and how we can shape the shape of convergence, shape of the convergence polygon are depending on market needs or research orientation. Therefore, research direction and guidance of research direction is very, very important in advanced education in technical convergence area. So therefore, the most important, one of the important issues in multidisciplinary education is how we can decide the proper width and depth, and what would be the proper shape of technology convergence polygon looks like. I think that polygon is depending on, shape of the polygon will be depending on the student. There is no golden rule, this shape is optimum. But the important thing is we may have very diverse shape of that convergence polygon, but the more important thing is we need to shape that polygon such that that polygon should compatible, adhesive to other polygon. That is very important. Therefore, interaction, surface of technical convergence polygon is very, very important. The only thing we can focus on at the present is that things. That is more important than what is the proper shape of the polygon looks like. In addition to spending more time to that argument, we are going to spend more time to increase the surface region of the polygon compared to that can interact with the other discipline or other shape of the polygon. So that is very important. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Joe. Now, I'd like to invite the last speaker, Jae-Chun Che. Dr. Che received his PhD in evolutionary biology from Howard University. Before returning to Korea in 1994, he worked at Harvard University as a full-time lecturer and the University of Michigan as an assistant professor and junior fellow at the Michigan Society of Fellows. Between 1994 and 2006, he was a professor of biological science at Seoul National University. In 2006, he moved to Ewha Womans University as a university chair professor to establish a new graduate program in eco-science and to serve as a director of the University Natural History Museum. He also received several honors and awards, including John Henry Comstock Awards and Asian Environmental Awards, etc. Dr. Che, please.
Thank you. Three speakers, including myself, we never really discussed what we're going to talk about, but I've been listening to two speakers before me. Somehow we overlap a little, but we are complementing each other beautifully, I think. My topic today is the 21st century global talent and consilience. Consilience is a relatively new concept, and I'll try to fit that concept into the kind of discussions we are talking about today here. Let me begin with the very nature of truth and the way we try to probe into the deep, down in the truth. The way truth moves around doesn't seem to recognize or doesn't seem to respect the kinds of academic boundaries we have made. And yet, all of us are confined into one or two very narrowly defined areas, and we spend our entire lifetime to try to pursue the truth. The truth may never come to you. And this is the reality of our way of doing science and other academic disciplines. So quite some time ago, we began an interesting approach, which is called the interdisciplinary approach, right? More than two different academic disciplines get together to try to find a solution. But I'm not sure about you, but my experience has been quite dismal. I've been involved in various kinds of interdisciplinary projects, but I really can't say that I really had that kind of interdisciplinary, crossing over the boundaries sort of experience. Before we put together a proposal, we met several times, as I recall. And then once we got the project supported, then we met a couple of times to try to divide the money, grant money, into different sectors. And then we talk about who does what. And then while we're doing the research, we rarely met. I mean, even when we met, we didn't really talk about the interdisciplinary issues. We only reported what we have done. And in the end, PI will call us and said, report, I need your report. And then we hurry up and send him the report, and he put together and bind them together and submit it to the funding agencies. That was it. I really never had interdisciplinary experience. Both speakers before me used multidisciplinary in a positive way, but I'm going to use it a little negative way. I thought I was involved in interdisciplinary approach, but I ended up participating in multidisciplinary play. We got together and just had fun and never really learned from each other. Now, Mr. Rocco has used this terminology a number of times in his talk. When you go to international meetings these days, you will hear this particular terminology very, very often. This is a very popular term. It is now transdisciplinary approach, transdisciplinary period of time. Really, not only between the two different areas of research get together and try to talk to each other, really different kinds of approaches somehow are melt together to try to find a common explanatory system. And that's the way the science and technologies go today. And you heard from Professor Cho about some examples. Well, let me expand our discussion into the humanities and arts and all other areas of academic disciplines. all of us, for whatever we do, we try to understand that particular animal, right? The beautiful human species. Who is the human species? Why we're doing all these kind of things? That's the ultimate essence, ultimate goal of all the things we do. Now in science, in biological science, we try to understand how one human being becomes who he is or who she is. Charles Darwin, in his The Origin of Species, used this particular expression called "so humble a beginning." It began with a sperm and egg. From that point, you have only, when you have only genes from your mom and dad, somehow produced who you are. This wonderful process called human development is one very, very interesting topic for biology these days. 21st century modern biology is trying to understand how your mom and dad's gene produces you. The genetic material has information, but it doesn't come out always that way. Even if you have exactly the same copies, I'm talking about twins, they don't come out exactly the same. There are environmental issues. This is studied in a new area, new discipline called Evo-Devo. It's called the evolutionary developmental biology, where many different areas of biological sciences get together to try to understand this. Traditionally, if you rely on a particular traditionally defined biological science, you wouldn't be able to understand this very complex, very unusual process. So let me give you the history of biology in recent years. We used to do biology this way. We try to understand what life is all about, life phenomena, but we divided ourselves into many different laboratories or many different departments. So somebody was doing physical chemistry kind of life science, biochemistry, cell biology, genetics, physiology, ecology. My colleague next door is doing is using exactly the same animals, but we don't talk to each other. And yet we try to understand this enormous phenomena called life. So complex, no one would be able to understand. A single person wouldn't be able to understand. This is the 20th century biology, what we call reductionist approach biology. But toward the end of 20th century, from University of California, Berkeley, different approach has emerged. They try to put the different areas of biological sciences on a vertical axis. You have to understand the life phenomena from a very basic to a larger scale. So there are the professors who study at the physical, chemical level and biochemical level, cell level, tissue level, gene level, and yet you need someone like me too, someone who studies ecological aspects of all those individuals put together. All these vertical approaches are combined in one giant theory that is, in biology at least, is an evolutionary biology. The evolutionary theory is the thread to put everything together. This is the new biology, and this is the integrative approach of modern biology. In America, almost all biological sciences are now in one way or another integrated biological form. And yet in Korea, we still do only molecular biology and try to understand this enormous aspect of life. What about human mind? I think human mind is, there's no exception. Human mind is also product of a long history of evolution. So in order to understand the human mind, you have to understand from a very basic level, very minute level to a large scale level as well. And this is what two speakers have been talking about, a cognitive level of understanding. Now, James Watson, who had discovered double helical structure of DNA, our genetic material, some 50 years ago, more than 50 years ago, in 2004, when we celebrated the 50th anniversary of the discovery, he went around the world and gave lots of talks. At one of those talks, he said this: the next century, he meant by this not 22nd century, 21st century, will bring together biology and psychology. It's very interesting that engineer, Professor Joe, talked about psychology quite a bit today. What do you mean by psychology? He meant by brain, right? With all the advance in science and technology, James Watson is saying, let's move into the human brain. How we understand that amazing machine. Now, very interestingly, about 150 years ago, Charles Darwin, in his book On the Origin of Species, it was published 149 years ago now, I guess, exactly. He never talked about psychology in the entire book, but in the last page, he said this: in the distant future, I see open fields for far more important researches. Psychology will be based on a new foundation. Very, very interesting. He talked about psychology. He somehow knew biologists eventually will move into probing the human brain. I too study the brain science, but I am an evolutionary biologist, so I do look into the evolution of human brain. When we do this, we assume three steps in human brain evolution. The first step is survival brain. You have to escape from predation, you have to eat, you have to find a place to sleep, and all these kind of things. So I guess most animals have this type of brain. The next step is feeling brain. Quite some time ago, we insisted that only humans have feeling brains. All other animals don't have any feeling. But if you have cats and dogs in your house, you know this is utterly wrong. They have feeling brain as well. So in the end, we decided to come up with thinking brain to separate us from the rest of the animal kingdom. But now this is no longer plausible as well. You all know this gentleman, right? If he has thinking brain, I declare you, this gentleman must have thinking brain as well. We know for sure that the chimpanzees can think, not exactly like us, but they do have a cognitive process, and we are studying them. So, as a scientist myself, I about 2 or 3 years ago, I decided to present a new step, the third stage of human brain, the evolution of human brain, which is explaining brain. Now, this picture may give you a wrong impression. The chimpanzee named I, who is the best in playing with the computers in the world among chimpanzees. He can solve problems on computer. He's at the Kyoto University Primate Research Institute. Right now, he seems to be telling a joke to the Professor Tetsuro Matsuzawa, who studies her, but that's not true. In the animal kingdom, except the human species, no other animals can tell you a joke. No other animals can explain things to you. It's just, she's touching Tetsuro's ear, so it's ticklish, so he's smiling. Thanks to Jane Goodall and other primate researchers, we have observed chimpanzees in a natural environment for almost half a century. We know basically how they live. We have never seen them gathering around the campfire and one chimpanzee crack a joke all night long and other chimpanzees saying, that's really funny. No, we've never seen that. Only we can do that. Only we can write poetry. Only we can write novels. Only we can come up with the myth. Only we can create God, if I may say so. We are the animal with explaining brain. And I think the brain science should really go into looking into explaining brain rather than thinking brain. Descartes have said cogito ergo sum, but I think it is outdated now. I'm saying enaro ergo sum, explain, therefore I am. We are the explaining animals. We know how to explain things. What I'm talking about is storytelling, contents. Two speakers before me talked about technology mostly, but Professor Cho mentioned a little bit about psychology and other areas. Let me expand that a little into the humanities and arts. Unless we put together the humanities and arts with science and technology, you wouldn't be able to give the information about how warm or cool this room, as Professor Cho talked about when he talked about the air conditioning system. That's where we need to move in these days. And I think the 21st century research have the goal. We need to explain the evolution of explaining brain. Do you think biologists can do this alone? Mechanical engineers can do this alone? Computer scientists can do this alone? No, I think poet, novelist, artist, musicians, and biologists and engineers all have to get together to try to understand how we came to use this amazing machine called the human brain. Now, Mr. Rocco talked about cognitive science quite a bit, and cognitive science is not a product of psychology alone. Cognitive science just came out from philosophy. Cognitive science is the son or daughter of all these areas: psychology, neurobiology, computer science, philosophy, engineering, and evolutionary biology, and many more. All these areas somehow got together, try to talk to each other, and in the process, new academic discipline called cognitive science. And cognitive science is probably one of the most important academic disciplines in the 21st century. And the way we do these kind of things, in order to understand why we do this and why we have to do this, Harvard biologist Ed Wilson suggested the concept of consilience. Consilience is the term you don't find in a very thick dictionaries, English dictionary either. It's the term coined by 19th century natural philosopher William Whewell, but only he used it, and it didn't catch fire, so it disappeared. But Professor Wilson revived the term and introduced to us to try to tell us it's now the time that we need to put together different areas of academic disciplines to come up with unified explaining system. And that's where the academic disciplines are trying to do these days, as I understand. And in translating this book, I reintroduced the concept of consilience in a vessel called Tongsup in Korean. Some of you who can read Chinese, you can understand what that means to a certain degree, I believe. Robert Frost, in his poem called Mending Wall, have said this: good fences make good neighbors. When we talk about consilience, some people misunderstand that in consilient effort, we're going to demolish all the boundaries and the humanities and natural sciences and engineering all get together and becomes, say, human science. That's not what consilience is trying to do. There's good reason, there's good historical reason why we are in different areas, why we have all these different disciplines, physics, chemistry, English literature. We're not completely trying to destroy those boundaries. If there is no boundaries, then there's probably no development. But if there are too tall fence, no one can go to the neighbor. So Robert Frost says the fences should be low enough that anytime if you want, you can just go across and meet your neighbors. That's what we are trying to do. That is the concept of transdisciplinary approach. Let me, since we are probably running out of time, I'm trying to speak as fast as I could. I've been talking about the academic world, but let me switch to the real world a little bit. As these two creatures are looking out through the window, they're saying, boy, the world is full of complex problems. Indeed, we are faced with many complex problems. And the other one is saying, and it's getting more complex every day. What are we going to do? The simple problems in our society, we have solutions already. We've been studying, for many years. We know what to do. We have the protocols for all the simple problems. Because our societies is so complex now, and it's getting more complex, the kind of problems we face these days are almost always the problem of complex systems. Complex problems require complex approaches. So one area of academic disciplines will no longer be able to come up with the solution. This is the reason why the people of different academic disciplines have to get together. There is a clear need. It's not that you can do things on your own. There are problems that demand all of us get together, many of us get together, in order to find a solution. Quite some time ago, the amount of knowledge we have accumulated wasn't really that deep. So anyone who could be a little more diligent could, probe into these. And anywhere you dig in, you become the expert, the world expert, very easily. But those days are gone. Having gone through 2 centuries, 19th century and 20th century, we have accumulated enormous amount of knowledge. The human species has just incredible amount of knowledge. And one individual will not be able to, physically impossible, will not be able to understand and master more than one area of academic disciplines. And that's the reason why quite some time ago we decided to take this kind of strategies, right? You define a narrowly defined area and you try to dig deep. I'm doing that too, but the other day I discovered myself trying to dig deeper around here, and I know myself very well, and I've been complaining a lot. It's not, it's not easy. I'm trying so hard, but I'm not going anywhere. And I realized the reason why I couldn't go any deeper is because I was digging too narrowly. In Korean saying, there is something like this: dig wide if you wish to dig deep. If you really want to dig deep, you really have to start wide so that you can go down to the bottom. But the problem is, as I said, because our knowledge is so vast, as an individual, if you start digging wide for entire life, your life, you probably be able to just scratch the surface. it is impossible. Then what's the conclusion? You can't do it by yourself, but you want to go deep. There's a very simple solution. Many of us, several of us, have to get together and dig wide together. Then we can go down deep. And this is the reason why we need to do a conciliant effort. Now, about 50 years ago, Sir C.P. Snow lamented that there's too big a chasm between the humanities and natural science. That stayed that way for many years. Now, Ed Wilson came at the end of the last century and said, we have to do something. So he came up with the idea of consilience. We need consilient education. We weren't educated that way, so we're having trouble crossing over the borders. But if we educate our students in consilient way, they will have much easier time crossing over all different disciplines. And I think that's one of our most important duties. And let me just emphasize that Harvard University just reorganized, redesigned their core curriculum, which was a very good program, but they did it again in order to really give students opportunities to cross over all the different disciplines. And I think we should look into it, and we should try to come up with the solutions that way. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Che. Now all prepared our presentation have been finished. I thank the speakers again, their insightful presentation, and it's time to hear comments and views on presentations from our panelist, Dr. Christine Brings. Dr. Brings was born in Korea and took part in both education systems of Korea and Germany. She completed the vocational education in the field of domestic and wholesale, and worked for several German export companies for 15 years, and afterwards received her diploma of the education science at the University Duisburg-Essen. The major field of her study was related to qualification management and organizational development. She currently works as an academic research at the Federal Institute of Vocational Training and Education, Germany. Let me invite Dr. Brings.
That I'm not a doctor, but just I'm become a doctor. So I'm just on the stage to become a doctor, and I'm now trying to find some interesting points of vocational education and training, and that is my main field of work. And now I've been in Korea to research the Meister School, not only the Meister School, but Tukseonghwa. I think it is very important to find out about the development of vocational education in that area. First of all, as I have heard lots of presentations here, I have to mention that the positions of European people are some other. So concerning the converging technologies, and in 2008, an expert team of European Union has reported and their assessment on the converging technology. So I want to try to mention it at first. So what they found out by the expert group of the EU for the assessment of technological convergence is that the approach of NBIC research had got critical advice by the European expert group for future technology assessment, which has been established in the year 2004. But they have some, they take some distance because of different kind of approaches of the US. So they say, for example, that the result, what is now existing in the technology, in the conversion technologies, are not enough for the transferring into the education. So it is maybe more or less a visionary idea. So it is quite difficult to transfer the mind of brain. So it means that the brain-machine interfaces, it is not at a stage to transfer into the educational system. So I don't know what the other says, but for example, the technologies are not enough. The knowledges are not enough to transfer into the education now. So I'm quite doubtful whether the interdisciplinary works can be really realized at the graduate or at the undergraduate level. What do you mean, Mr. Rocco? Yes, my question is that as well as I am informed from the expert group by the EU, that the knowledge stands are not enough yet for the sciences for interdisciplinary works.
In Europe, there are many groups. The most prominent group is in European Union and has the largest program, research program in converging technologies in the world. At the same time, it's a smaller social scientist group that took a divergent position, and not a scientific position, they took a political position. They told, because the program is developed in the United States, should be for military and is against people. In fact, the program in converging technologies was developed to enhance the role of technology in helping people and to bring human dimension to technology. That means, first point is that in Europe, it's a lot of research on converging technologies. European Union has the largest program in the world in converging technologies based on US reports. Is a divergent group, which is a small group of social scientists that take a position that only analyzing social aspects, so it's dangerous. I think we should not even consider because it's a potential to change human dimension. I think this is not the intent of the converging technologies. Converging technologies is a natural process of diminishing the boundaries between disciplines and between technical disciplines and psychology and philosophy, and basically the purpose is to bring the technologies closer to human dimension. And secondly, there are different levels to implement this. For instance, I mentioned in the US, we established in 2002 6 centers to analyze how the brain works to improve the schools. This already is applied. That means to tell that it cannot be applied, it's nonsense. And there are many other projects. As I mentioned, starting earlier with cognitive in freshman year. That means what I had the impression, you have contact with a group of social scientists which are detached from science and reality. And they speak about something that is not real. In fact, I have a meeting with the same group once, at the same conference. And I made my presentation, and thereafter someone from Germany, I don't give the name, which is a dissenting position from many other people, in fact. He told, why do you do this? It's against human dimension, it's militaristic, and so. And I responded, in none of our papers, we have 4 books. In none of these books is written about military, it's not written about changing human dimension. In fact, it's written in the introduction. This is a purpose to help human dimension to not to develop technology outside of human purpose. And his response was, I know that it's not written in your publication, it's not written in the books, but I know that US policy of President Bush is so, and which is totally misplacing political views in science. And so my response is, it's a kind of not a good position to mix politics that is not related to the scientific topic in this meeting, for instance, with political views. Well,
Yes, this one.
the question was how we do interdisciplinary work at NSF. In fact, it's a difficult process, but we try to do different approaches. One approach is to give money to the students. For instance, these so-called IGERT programs. That means we give money to a department and we tell you money go to students, and the students have to choose 3 professors to work on their topic. And so the student is obliged to find 3 professors from different departments to work on the topic. One approach. Other approach in the centers. In the centers we require to apply a holistic view. Other approach, we have so-called interdisciplinary research teams, and the requirement to be at least 3 professors, co-principal investigators from 3 different disciplines. And I heard before the comments made by other panelist members that it's difficult sometimes. However, this depends on us. I think basically we have to find a way to integrate activities because, as anyone is recognizing as this table, the real problems are interdisciplinary. Disciplinarity is a kind of choice to do analysis in a simple way and in a deeper way. And so how are different methods to have continuously different seminars, to locate people in common offices, to have different evaluation criteria. And so there are a series of methods. All the time it's a problem because the universities are organized based on disciplines. And so you try to encourage them, you give a grant, we give a center. For instance, we give a center of $5 million, but after each professor is evaluated in his department. And his department tells, you are better in physics if you do only physics. If you don't have something else, you didn't serve our community, and we don't like to give you the tenure. Part of the problem is that the recognition system in university is based on disciplinary work. And so we have to find a way to break this barrier. Yes.
What I want to know is that the students, they should be normally specialized just on one field. Yes, the students have to be specialized on one field, because I think it is very important, because they can take the expert knowledges, for example, but okay. If the students have to learn in the interdisciplinary works, they will lose lots of time. So during the study, so it is quite important that they have to specialize just at one field, and they can work together with other disciplinaries.
I think that we agree that many people call this a T-shaped education. I think you do in depth in one field and you learn to communicate with others and learn similar concepts from other fields and the language. And I think it's more and more accepted. It's, for instance, to give an example, because someone mentioned that in Korea there are departments of nanotechnology. In US also we have several departments, but we try to discourage this. We try to tell better you give a secondary degree in nano. I think you are specialized, let's say, in physics, and you have secondary. The student takes courses that will give him a broader view, but has also a main area of focus.
I had I had another question to Mr. Cho. What do you think about how the specialized education should be realized in Korea, for example, in respect of vocational education, in respect of NBIC researches and for interdisciplinary works? I hope you understand what I mean. So I think it is quite important to have grounded education. So it is very important to have basic knowledges at a certain field. So it has to be begin just at a low level stage. So what do you think about vocational education? How it has to be built up?
Yeah, I think according to my experience, that's my personal opinion. I believe that undergraduate education, I think we do not need any boundaries. I believe most of the interdepartment education is preferred to provide a wide range of width, to increase the width of the student. But however, in graduate education, we need depth to provide some special expertise in their own field. And I always have that kind of question from the student, but my answer is that knowing everything is not important. Sometimes knowing everything means knowing nothing. But in order to be a good expert, in order to be a leader in your major field, you need to know every other neighbor things. You need know a wide range of disciplines. Without them, you may not be a lead in your own major existing field. I think that is my feeling. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, we are running out of time. Thank you. That brings your opinion, and because we are running out of time, already 10 minutes behind the schedule. I think we can accept only one more question on floor. Yes, thank you. No question. Thank you so much.